So I work at a tech company, and when it comes to our internal brand and marketing design resources, there are only 2 of us with that skill set on the team. But the design needs from across the company, well, they're much more than what 2 designers have capacity for. If you're on a small design team or are maybe a solo designer at a company, I'm sure you can relate to this. So how do we handle all of this work without just being super stressed all the time? Come in, I'll tell you the secret. We outsource. In this video, I'm going to share with you how that works for us, what we outsource and who we outsource to, as well as what I've learned about outsourcing over the years to make it really effective and a good use of my time and budget. So first of all, what is outsourcing and why should you do it? Outsourcing design work means getting someone outside your company to handle design tasks that usually you do in-house. And whenever you're in a situation where the design needs of the business outweigh your capacity to actually do that work and do it well, outsourcing is a great option. In my experience, brand design teams are often the smallest in a tech company, and it is just unrealistic to think that as a designer you can just keep taking on more and more work as the marketing team grows and as the business has more and more design needs. So if you're in that situation, you need to advocate for outsourcing, and I hope this video is going to help you do it. If you choose the right partner to outsource to, it can actually be cheaper than hiring another full-time employee onto the team, especially when you add in the cost of like providing benefits and the time to manage them. And with outsourcing, you can actually better scale up or down your resources with the ebbs and flows of the design needs. There are 3 main ways we outsource work right now where I work at ConvertKit. The first is on a project basis. So if there's a project that comes up and we don't have the right skills or perhaps time to work on it ourselves in-house, we will outsource it, usually to a freelancer with a specialized skill set who's going to work on the project for us, like to create an illustration or some motion graphics. We did outsource once to an agency to create a brand campaign on a project basis for us, which I do have some thoughts on, and I'll share them later. The second way we outsource is with a retainer. So this is where we pay a graphic designer to essentially reserve a certain number of hours per month to work on our design needs. A retainer can be really great because you know there will be someone there to help you when you're overloaded, but the hours are kind of like use them or lose them. So if you have a lighter month of projects you need to outsource, then you'll still pay the same amount as if you had used up all of those retainer hours. Then the last way we outsource right now is a much newer method, and that is using a creative as a service solution, namely the sponsor of this video, Superside. Superside offers subscription packages where you pick a plan that suits what creative services you need. We have the digital advertising package at ConvertKit, and that includes all of these things. And then you pay based on how many hours you want access to per month. We have 95 hours a month in our package, but unlike a retainer, any hours that we don't use get rolled over to the next month, which is fantastic. So with this type of outsourcing, you're not going to waste any money if you have less work to be outsourced one month. I think when a lot of companies want to outsource a bunch of design work regularly, getting an agency on a retainer is probably the first thing that comes to mind, because you get access to a bunch of different types of creative skills without having to find individual talented freelancers to do all those things. And I did consider that too, honestly, when I first realized that we needed to outsource more. But the agencies that I spoke to seemed to really only be interested in working on like the big, impressive branding projects and not so much on the smaller things like the production work of resizing ads, making variations, or like polishing a presentation. And I knew that we needed to be able to outsource both types of work and to have a partner who would do both types equally well, which Superside does. I also knew from my past experience working with agencies that they tend to be extremely expensive. I guess they're like used to working with higher budget, bigger clients than us. I don't know. And the process of working on something together with an agency can feel really bloated. Like you're on calls with more than a dozen people who are all working on your account, and concepting takes weeks, then design takes more weeks or months. And if they need to bring in someone with a specialist skill to like act on those concepts, then you need to pay extra for it. I don't know. Don't get me wrong. They do great work, and for high budget, like traditional campaign projects, I can understand the value of an agency, but we wanted a partner who would more feel like an extension of our team, who would get to know our brand, do high quality design work, happily work on projects that are big or small, and stay really efficient with time and get things done quickly. And Superside checks all those boxes for us. So what exactly do we outsource, and what do we keep in-house? We outsource pretty much all of our social media and ad imagery work, a lot of our presentation design, motion graphics, illustrations, print design and layout work, like ebooks and PDFs. We're even starting to dabble in outsourcing some landing page designs to Superside. So with all that, you might be asking, what the heck are we doing internally if we outsource all of that? Remember, we're a small team and we focus most of our internal design time on our marketing website, on evolving our brand, creating systems. I actually have a whole playlist all about design systems at ConvertKit. And we work on setting the creative direction for all of the things that we outsource. As in-house designers, we have incredibly valuable context and a deep understanding of both our product and our audience. And so I believe our time is best spent focusing on our most valuable marketing asset, which is our website, and on being the ones to keep all the design work happening internally and externally consistent and in line with the direction that we want to go with our brand. I was definitely nervous to outsource at first, feeling like, no one could do as good a job as I could do with my in-house context, but you really gotta let your ego go a bit and realize that that is not true, and that by letting go of some projects, by getting help on them, you're going to be able to play a more strategic role internally and you won't be as burnt out. So here is some advice for making outsourcing really efficient and effective. First, you should invest time in giving context to your external partners. It's definitely going to be more effective if you work with a regular partner rather than bopping around different freelancers, because then your external partner can build up a lot of important context that you also have as an in-house designer over time. And this is absolutely worth investing time in, because the more that you teach them about your brand and your audience and what good design looks like to you, the less assumptions they're going to have to make and the quicker they'll be able to produce the right solution for you. How Superside works is that you have a couple of regular creative leads and project managers that you focus on building this context with, and they become the representatives of your brand with all of the designers who work on the projects themselves, because that is going to vary based on what the project is, what time frame you need it in, and what specialized skill set is needed. So it's really handy for us to have those key points of contact to build relationships with. You've got to keep track of who is working on what in a project management tool. So we have a pretty simple form that anyone in the company can use to request a creative asset, and all of those requests come into a backlog in our Monday board. Every week we go through those requests and we decide if it's going to be something we outsource or something that we work on ourselves. For the things that we're going to work on internally or have our graphic designer Holly work on, we just attach that person directly to the item in Monday. And then for anything we want to get Superside to work on, we tag it with Superside and then submit it through Superspace. This is their tool that makes briefing really easy by giving you questions to answer, which I very much appreciate because writing briefs can be difficult. And then you can keep track of the status of the project and any conversation around it in here too. And for every project that we outsource, we have an owner internally who manages our stakeholder feedback and is like the point of contact for our external partner. Tip number 3 is to have your outsourcing partners use the same design tools that you use, so that you can edit something later if you need to, and so that they can make use of any systems that you've built. You should be working with a partner who is happy to use the same tools as you. We work in Figma internally in ConvertKit, and so our Superside team works in Figma and delivers us Figma files, and so do any other freelancers that we bring on. It just makes it easy. Tip number 4 is to give clear feedback. This is kind of related to spending time giving context to external partners you work with regularly. If you give them really clear feedback on the work they've done, they'll get to know your preferences and deepen their understanding of your brand. We give feedback to Superside directly in Figma comments, and we also really like to make Loom videos talking through any more nuanced feedback asynchronously. That's something that we often do internally as well, so it feels really natural to us and it's a very efficient way to give feedback. So, the important question, is outsourcing actually worth it? Clearly, you've heard from me talking about our process that when you outsource, you do still need to spend some of your time briefing your external partners, giving them context, giving them feedback. But I promise you that if you have the right partner, doing this is going to allow you to get much more done at scale than if you'd spend that same amount of time designing. Outsourcing leaves you as the in-house designer to focus your creative energy on the projects that you are most excited to work on. Plus, you can get the benefit of having access to skill sets that maybe you don't have internally. And it's always great to be inspired by the fresh takes that your external design partners might have on a project too. We can learn a lot from each other. Outsourcing does cost money, obviously, but at ConvertKit, we feel like Superside takes great care of our budget and using the hours that we pay for really efficiently. For every single project, they'll scope it up front and tell you how many hours they expect it to take, and we've found them to be very accurate in their scoping. So if you're an in-house designer and you're struggling to keep up with all of the design assets that you need to be producing and all the iterations that you need to be making. I feel you, I see you, and it is time to start outsourcing before you burn out. Reach out to Superside at superside.com to chat to them about your specific needs and see if a creative as a service solution might be the right fit for you, which I have a hunch that it will be. You should also check out the Superside YouTube channel. They have a bunch of really helpful videos, and in particular, I think you should watch this one about Ad Design 101 to pick up some tips about designing really effective ads.